The name Caitlin Clark had long been synonymous with precision shooting and unshakable confidence. But now, in the quiet aftermath of her first WNBA playoff loss, she found herself face to face with something she hadn't prepared for: deep disappointment. She had imagined this moment differently. The final buzzer was supposed to mark the beginning of her playoff legacy, not a painful setback. As the crowd's cheers faded into silence, so did her sense of clarity. The locker room buzzed with the noise of regrouping teammates, but Caitlin could only hear her thoughts, the missed shots, the turnovers, the weight of the trust her team had placed in her. Unable to shake the blame she placed on herself, Caitlin quietly slipped out. She didn't want her vulnerability on display, not tonight. She drove aimlessly through the city, its lights casting long reflections on the car windows. Normally, after a game, she'd be replaying highlights, critiquing herself, planning the next move. But this time, the silence felt suffocating. How did this happen, she asked herself. She had dedicated her life to basketball. Countless hours in gyms, sacrifices, discipline, everything pointed toward success. And yet this single loss made it feel as if all of it had crumbled. Her thoughts wandered to simpler times, shooting hoops in the driveway with her brother, pretending to be the hero. But tonight, the hero in her story felt defeated. Then, something unexpected caught her eye. A small, modest church tucked away on a quiet street corner. The stained glass windows glowed faintly in the dark, and an inexplicable sense of peace radiated from the place. Without thinking, she pulled over, stepped out into the cold air, and approached the wooden doors. She wasn't particularly religious, but something in her needed stillness. Inside, the church was quiet, lit only by the flicker of candles near the altar. A few people sat scattered in the pews, each deep in prayer. Caitlin slowly made her way to the front and sat down. Her hands trembled as she clasped them together. She stared at the candles, her thoughts a storm of regret and self-doubt. With her eyes closed, she whispered, her voice cracking, "God, I don't know what to do. I've worked so hard for this, and when it still wasn't enough. What now?" Tears filled her eyes. Basketball had always been her identity, her escape. But tonight, the weight of that identity felt crushing. A gentle voice interrupted her thoughts. "Are you okay, my child?" Caitlin looked up to see a kind-faced priest standing nearby. He wore a simple white robe and a gold cross around his neck. "I don't know," she said softly. "I thought I had everything figured out. But now, I'm not so sure." The priest nodded. "Life has a way of humbling even the strongest among us. But these moments of doubt, can become moments of transformation. Would you like to talk?" She hesitated, then nodded. He led her to a small, quiet room, just a table, 2 chairs, and silence. Caitlin sat down, hands still shaking. "I don't even know where to start," she said. "I've worked my whole life for this, and now that I've failed, it feels like I let everyone down, my team, my family, myself." The priest leaned forward. "Do you truly believe you failed?" She paused. "I don't know. I've always believed that winning is what defines success, and I didn't win. I cracked under pressure. I wasn't who they needed me to be." The priest let her words settle. "Caitlin's success isn't just measured in victories. It's measured in growth, impact, and resilience. When you play, is it just for the win, or is it for something more?" The question took her off guard. She thought about her childhood again, the joy of the game, the feeling of the ball swishing through the net, the bond with her teammates. "I play because I love it," she said at last. "But it's hard to separate that from all the expectations, mine and everyone else's." The priest smiled gently. "Your passion is a gift, but remember, your worth isn't tied to the outcome. Even the greatest players fall short. What defines them isn't perfection, it's how they rise." Caitlin wiped away a tear. "How do I move forward from this? How do I face them knowing I didn't deliver?" "By remembering that you're human," the priest replied, "and by leading. Not with perfection, but with honesty and heart. You already inspire people, not because you're flawless, but because you're real." Then he stood and handed her a small leather-bound journal. "Write," he said. "Put your thoughts here. You'll be surprised at how much it helps." Caitlin accepted it, her fingers brushing over the cover. "Thank you," she said. "You're not alone," the priest said. This loss isn't the end, it's part of your becoming. That night, as she stepped back into the cool night air, Caitlin felt something new. Peace. Not because the pain had vanished, but because she finally knew it wouldn't define her. At home, she opened the journal and began to write. She poured out her pain, her mistakes, her fears. But as the pages filled, her words began to shift. She wrote about why she played, the teammates she loved, and the pride of representing her fans. Writing became a daily ritual. Through those pages, she found healing, rediscovered her purpose, and reminded herself that resilience was her greatest strength. 2 weeks later, she returned to practice. Her teammates greeted her with warmth. The loss hadn't diminished their respect, it had deepened it. In the first team huddle, she spoke from the heart. "I want to apologize," she said. "I let the pressure of that game get to me. I didn't show up the way I should have. But I've learned something. We're not defined by one moment. We're defined by how we move forward. And I'm ready to do that. With all of you." Her teammates erupted in cheers, their bond renewed. From that day forward, Caitlin approached every practice, every game, with a new mindset. She played not to chase perfection, but to give her best, support her team, and love the game. Months later, Caitlin found herself back in the playoffs. The stakes were higher, but this time she was ready. Before tip-off, she stood at center court, the arena packed, the energy electric. But in her heart, there was calm. She wasn't the same player who had walked away in tears. She was stronger, more grounded and deeply aware of who she was. When the game began, she played with fire, draining clutch shots, lifting her team, and leading with poise. The game came down to the wire. And when the final buzzer sounded, Caitlin and her team had emerged victorious. But for her, the real win wasn't on the scoreboard. Later that night, she sat in the locker room and opened her journal. "This isn't the end of the journey. It's just the next step. I've learned that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of it. And as long as I keep moving forward, I'll always keep growing." The next day, Caitlin handed each of her teammates a small notebook. "For the road ahead," she said with a smile, "write down your thoughts. It helps more than you think." It became a tradition, one that bonded them even more deeply. Caitlin Clark's story of resilience became more than a sports narrative. It became a symbol for young athletes, for fans, for anyone who has ever fallen and had to find the strength to rise again. She showed the world that true greatness isn't about never failing. It's about rising with grace, playing with heart, and choosing to keep going, one page, one game, one moment at a time.